Yo, what is good, y'all? Welcome into Cardinalytics, Arizona Cardinals podcast, hosted by fans for the fans. Here on Wednesday, May 1st, a couple days removed from the NFL draft. What a journey it was to get there. Long season to get there, as we all know. But I'm glad that it is over. I'm glad that it is through, and I love what the Cardinals I should say. So I can't wait to talk about that with my co-host here, Shaw. How you feeling today? How you feeling about the draft? How you feeling about all the good stuff, all the good vibes that we got coming to this organization going through right now?
What's good, Corey? I feel good. Like the draft was great. Let me not say great. It was solid. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
12 picks is a lot of picks. You know what I'm saying? 12 picks
It
is a
is.
lot of picks. I'm hoping like half of them hit. I know one for sure gonna hit.
Yes.
So I know one for sure is gonna hit. But no, I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah. Yeah. So like as y'all saw last time I joined y'all, I was in the airport. I was on my way down to Arizona. Enjoyed myself down there for the Marvin Harrison Jr. draft pick first round, as well as Darius Robinson in the first round as well. So we'll get into all those guys. It was a great time. It felt good to be down there for that event. Uh, like just you could feel like the momentum shifting when it comes to how people kind of talk about this team and especially with Monty Ossenfort, how he's put together these last two drafts and gone about it. You mentioned 12 picks. We'll get into all of them, so, as well as a couple UDFAs. I saw a tweet that you had mentioned about a UDFA that
Yeah.
might be better than a draft pick. So we'll get into all those
Yeah.
guys as well. But like I said, just a good time out there. It's good to see the city vibing. Good to see that they have an opportunity to embrace a player that is real humble and in emotion. I don't know if you watched any of Marvin Harrison Jr.'s intro press conference, but he's like you can hear the humble humility in his voice, and just
Yeah.
like the way he approaches himself and how he feels about his game is definitely moving me. So I'm excited to talk about him and see what he can do for this football team. But let's just get straight into it. I just got to start at the top, obviously. Real quick, got a comment from Mikey Desert Cardinal. Welcome coming in. Appreciate you, brother. He says Tip Raymond in the third round was a reach. That was a reach. No one was breaking down the doors to get him.
Yeah.
He's a fifth, the
We
sixth
we
round pick,
we'll
to
we'll
be
get the tip.
honest.
Yeah, we'll get the tip.
Yeah.
We'll get the tip because I have
I
some
don't
comments on tip too.
Yeah, and I feel like Mikey, we'll get into like you said, we'll get into Tip and how we feel about him. But like at the end of the day, Monty Ossenfort, they kind of have their board. Like I was mentioning this on Twitter a couple of times. Like after like round two, round three, it's hard to really judge somebody's board because they have their values and different players. And let's say again, I don't know what they're going to do with him fully. We have an idea, but we don't know what fully they're going to do with him. But if they use him in a motion where he's in an I formation set as a fullback, he's the H back, he's off wing tight end, like any of that, if he's on the field and doing anything for the football team to help it, I don't know if it's so called a reach. I just think you just drafted a player where you feel that player was drafted. So everybody else has their own board. So like I said, I don't disrespect you, Mikey, as a Cardinal. I some people do have a call it a reach, and a majority of draft Twitter and analysts about the draft would call it a reach, but depends on how they use him. So, like I said, we'll get into Tip Raymond. I
Yeah.
know that was a huge topic of conversation. So, any mentions on his comment right there that you had?
I mean, I guess like just before we start to
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually starting to get a little bit annoyed with like draft culture. I'm not gonna lie, just because like everybody's board is different, right? Like when it comes to NFL, and then most of the people who like make these like so-called like big boards,
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean, half of them we might know more about the prospects than some
Yeah.
of them, and so like it's a reach based on what? Based on okay, this is where this person had this player rated at. Well, is he basing his rating off of scheme versus
Mm-hmm.
versatility? Like, can he fit in with this scheme? Can you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are all these ratings off of, or what are all these like big boards based off of? And it's like everybody's thing is different.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of agree with you. Like after day two, like I could care less what somebody thinks about our day three picks at
Yeah.
all, because it's like at that point it's a crapshoot anyways in the draft. And for the most part, you should be drafting guys that you feel like you could develop,
Mm-hmm.
scheme fit, stuff like that. And nobody takes that into account when they're making their big boards.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
I just want to
again,
get that
nobody.
off my chest real quick.
Yeah, nobody takes it into account when they're just reacting to the pick. Like when you're just reacting and saying, "Who is this?" Oh, you do some research and you see this guy was taking high 80s when a lot of people have 120, 130, 140 on the total board. It's like, is immediately leaves as a reach, but then you sit there and be like, okay, well, you kind of break down his player profile, you break down what he is as a person, and just as a player on the football field, and you see, okay, well, there's a clear need. He's a clearly like a player of need, and like I said, we'll get into all the tip stuff when we get to him. So let's start up the top at the glorious April 25th that will forever go down in this franchise's history. Marvin Harrison Jr. was selected. I don't think as much talk as it was about a trading down and stuff like that. I feel like again, this is just that was a lot of you kind of mentioned it. I mentioned it. We all mentioned it here on this podcast. We'll be joined by Jake as well, by the way. So he will be coming in real soon for us. But we just mentioned like a lot of the times when you're getting through the draft season, like you mentioned, the draft culture and stuff like that. It's always like what could be crazy, what could be exciting, what could be make waves in terms of news. But at the end of the day, when you're in position to get a good player, you got to take a good player. And that's exactly what Monty Osborne chose to do. And I'm glad that he chose to do that. I think it's been solid for the fan base as well as for the team because it's a clear need at a player that in most people's eyes is considered, a top prospect, generational, if not the top prospect on the board at number one. So Marvin Harrison Jr., your feelings about the pick, he's now ours. We can now literally call him ours. I think last couple of days just up and fluttering, thinking about like this guy is like going to wear our jersey for the foreseeable future, and make plays for us and be that name that this organization has been looking for. So how you feeling about Marvin Harrison Jr. now in Arizona Cardinals?
I mean, I'm just glad that, what I'm saying, he's actually on the team now. I'm glad that one, like you said, Monty didn't trade the pick, which I really didn't think that would materialize into anything just because I feel like for them to get rid of the pick, like the asking price was probably so high. And then we saw like the quarterbacks after Drake May, obviously like this was a record in terms of offensive players taken. Like I think it was like the first like 15 picks or 16 picks or something like that was offensive players, and 6 of them were quarterbacks. So we saw a bunch of quarterbacks go. But like, for somebody to trade up to our pick after Drake May, I think that would have been the guy that they were going to get if they were going to trade up that high. So once that happened, like once the Patriots took Drake May, like I pretty much knew like, we're probably not trading a pick because we're not getting somebody to pay like what we needed. But no, I'm just glad we stuck in. I'm glad we stuck and got Marvin. At this point, it's just like, bro, like just to me, just like halfway meet expectations because expectations from everybody else is like all pro and like year 3, like Hall of Fame or all this other stuff. Like I even seen somebody tweeted, somebody was like, the Cardinals just drafted their franchise's like greatest wide receiver or something like that. And it's like, yo, let's calm down. You know what I'm saying? My expectations, just go out there and get me 1,200 yards year 1, and that'll be a good start. That'll be a good start, and then we'll go from there. So
yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like at the end of the day, expectations for him are built upon what he feels like he wants to achieve and what his father has achieved. And now being on the Arizona Cardinals, what a player like Larry Fitzgerald has achieved, like at the end of the day, it's going to be hard to match up to those players. Those players are top 10 wide receivers of all time in their position. So if you're telling me I'm getting a somewhat of a top 10 wide receiver of all time in his position based off of how he wants to operate, that's going to be, legendary for this team. It's a status that this team or take this team to heights that it hasn't been able to reach since, maybe 2021 when we had a fully equipped roster and everybody was clicking. Like, so I feel good for Kyler Murray. At the end of the day, I think he deserves this.
I feel great for Kyler.
I think he fully deserves this. I think at the end of the day, like people can say a wide receiver 1 makes a quarterback. Well, it's just a team game. A wide receiver needs a quarterback needs a wide receiver. Like, so at the end of the day, like I won't give a damn if anybody says Kyler is, generational wide receiver made or top wide receiver made. At the end of the day, we need that. Those players need. I mean, not everybody, can be Mahomes and go out there and make it. But again, he has this generational tight end in Travis Kelce who does the similar things of a wide receiver 1. So, top players need that. The top quarterbacks always have that, and they can prove that. And now, as soon as they get a chance to, I'm hoping that they've hit the field already. Got some reps in, got some time in, and just understanding each other because this could be a fruitful relationship if they work on it properly and go through it properly and just have success in that nature. So, like I said, I feel good for Kyler. I feel good for this organization. We're still waiting for him to sign his stuff so we can order his jerseys. I'm begging Cardinals fans. Let's try.
I don't know what number he's gonna go with.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I was looking at it. I'm thinking 81 or 16 is open. I think it was 16. One of those numbers.
16.
It's kind of a weird wide receiver number, obviously, but like,
Yeah, I
um,
don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna get 18 from BJ just because
yeah,
like
he's not. I mean, he's
that
not
is
getting it.
like
I don't think he's getting it.
yeah, nah, like that's a big number at LSU and BJ were at
Yeah.
LSU, so like I already know he's gonna try to keep that as long as he can. But
Mm-hmm.
like I kind of have an unpopular, a very unpopular opinion. But
Mm-hmm.
like, shoot, they should just if he wants 88, give him 88. Like I know the guy who wore 88, like he passed away on the field and everything. But
Yeah.
like,
If he wants 8, give
I
him
mean,
8. I'm sorry, Larry Wilson. I didn't watch you play not once. If he wants 8, you can.
yeah,
If he wants 8, you
he
can
can have
have
8 too.
8. He can have 8.
Yeah,
Somebody
yeah, he
call
can
the
have
Wilson
8
fam.
too.
Somebody can call the Wilson
But
family. Let them know, like, sir, excuse me,
yeah,
ma'am, excuse me. This is legendary. Let's give him the number. You guys will be okay. Give him 8 or 80. Like you
yeah,
said, 88.
I'm sure Marvin Senior could pay them off pretty well for that jersey number.
Yeah,
So
88. And like I said, the one that is open, 81. I wouldn't mind 81. I don't know. I think 82 is Bachelia, so that's covered up. But so that's kind of not one. But 81, the opposite of 18, that would be nice
hmm
too. So
hmm
we're waiting. But again, like I'm begging Cardinals fans, the second that you have the chance to, please, please, please look to sell out that jersey faster than Caleb Williams got his jersey sold out, faster than Caitlin Clark got her jersey sold out. Let's
yeah,
show the NFL world that we're this fan base is energized and electric and ready to start supporting our team and finally, hopefully having seats in the butt or butts in the seats that are our fans
Butts
and
and
not
C,
the
yeah.
opposing fans. So definitely excited for Marvin Harrison Jr. Real quick, got a comment from Mikey talking about Tawan Palmer. When Brendan Rice is still on the board, didn't
Yeah.
make sense to him. We'll get into Tawan and Brendan Rice.
Can I say this real quick? Can I say
Go
this
ahead,
real
yeah,
quick?
yeah. Probably saying
Brendan
the same thing that
Rice
you were singing.
is trash. I'm sorry, Mikey, but like I never bought in the hype with Brendan Rice. Like this is another just like big name type of
Mhm,
guy. But when I watched his film, he looked unathletic,
mhm,
couldn't get separation. He was just a tall jump ball receiver on a team that, you know what I'm saying, he had a great quarterback. Like so
mhm.
at the end of the day, that's all I felt from him. Clearly the NFL thought the same with making him a 7th round pick. So
Yeah, I just
I
I
don't
just
think we're
didn't
gonna
get
see any of Brendan
yeah.
Rice.
I didn't get the infatuation with Brendan Rice that I was seeing through Cardinals. Personally, I just didn't get it. Like I felt like we got the
Yeah,
first wide receiver, and yes, he was there, yes, he was available. But look at the other picks. You went mostly defense, like I was hoping for, and then you went a couple of offensive picks here and there, but you went mostly defense, and that helped, hold up some picks. So Brendan Rice, I mean, I don't know. That wasn't a player I was thinking about. But like, at the end of the
I
day,
just
like
don't think he's good.
yeah, and maybe they didn't. I don't know if he was on a 30. I feel like he might have been on a 30 visit. I'm not 100% sure,
He
but
was. No, he
okay.
was.
So again,
Yeah,
maybe
he
it's
was.
surprising to a couple people. He was on a 30 visit. He didn't get picked. Who knows? I mean, to Juan Palmer, if
Yeah.
he does anything special teams wise, that takes the cake. I mean, he has clear speed, size, and all that. So, he comes
hmm
back at you, says he's not, bro. I watched this game at USC. The kid can play.
yeah.
You'll see. So I mean, maybe Justin
Hey,
Herbert can
what?
make a star. So maybe Justin Herbert is the one that can make him a star.
Maybe.
So
Maybe.
he'll
Him
be
and Greg
home.
Roman.
Yeah, he'll be right there, right there in LA, right where he went to school, probably right where he grew up. With Jerry. Hey,
Yeah.
I don't know. It is what it is. He said he had 12 touchdowns at USC this year.
Yeah.
Hey, can't beat the stats. Can't beat the stats. So we'll see how he pans out. Let's see. Tawan Palmer versus um, Brendan Rice for their careers. I can't wait to go through that the next 4 or 5 years and see who ends up being a
Yeah.
better prospect or does more for their team. So that'll be interesting. But moving on to the second first-round pick, Darius Robinson of Missouri. Now this guy, a lot of people kind of had him mocked to us. He was a potential first rounder for most of the draft season. Kind of started slipping down, maybe based off of who knows what. I know his RAS score wasn't the best, so he kind of maybe started slipping down a little bit. But then you kind of heard rumblings of Darius Robinson possibly being a first round pick. Shout out to Peter Schrager. He actually nailed both of the Cardinals' first round picks, and Marvin Harrison staying at 4 and Darius Robinson at 27. Not moving up to get either player or moving down to get either player, but just staying and picking. So shout out to him. Like I said, a couple of rumblings of him possibly being a first rounder started coming up, and lo and behold, the Cardinals were the team to take him. So I know he ended up reporting to have a 30 visit with the Cardinals, but as well as the Cardinals had interest in him. I know he said at the combine that they talked to him a lot. NFL draft, I know with PHNX he said he talked to the Cardinals. So That was a player that you can kind of see makes sense for this team. Once again, like maybe at first you're like you want to go edge or corner. There was a couple corners on the board, like a Cooper DeJean. I know a lot of our fans wanted him. Kool-Aid was also on the board. I know you wanted him. You were a big
I
fan of
wanted
him.
Kool-Aid. Yeah.
Um, but they end up opting to go with the defensive lineman. And I say defensive lineman, like again, that's a loose term when it comes to this player because he can be on the outside at some points. But I think they would kind of use him more so as on the defensive line as like a 3-4 defensive end or just an inside player. Your thoughts on Darius Robinson, 6'5", 285? Chris Sims, I know he called him like a Greek goddess of bodies.
Yeah.
And you can see when he starts standing up, he looks
Mm-hmm.
he looks all the part. Like he fills out his frame very well. Very built in terms of what he is. So what can he do for this football team? Can he be an impact player on the defensive line? Um, at any
So
point.
I was about to say, it looked like Mikey had
Mm-hmm.
another comment up here. He said he wanted Johnny Newton in a second. I
Mm-hmm.
was a big fan of Johnny Newton. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of wanted us to take Johnny Newton right there at 27, but for whatever reason, that wasn't the pick.
Mm-hmm.
Darius Robinson though, 6'5", 285, played D tackle up until basically last year, and then he slimmed down. I think he dropped down like 25 pounds or something like that. Moved to the edge, had
Mm-hmm.
like 8.5 sacks. Um, Not a fast guy, which like personally, like I'm still kind of waiting on us to get like some type of like or he's athletic, don't get me wrong, but he's not like he doesn't have that much speed. He's definitely a power type
Mm-hmm.
rusher. Um, when you watch his tape, like strong bull rush, like that's immediate. That's the first thing that pops off. But like his speed, like sideline to sideline, is kind of like not there. And the only thing that I worry about is like quarterbacks getting more athletic in the league, like
Mm-hmm.
scrambling around in the pocket, buying time, stuff like that. Do we have the guys on the field to chase them down?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Darius, he's a lot younger than I thought he was. I thought he was like 24 years old, but I think he's like 22.
Mm-hmm.
He'll probably be 23 at the start of the season. So like, I don't mind the pick. It seems like a very safe pick, like high floor type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But ceiling from initial reaction, I'm just like I wasn't really too moved by it. Now after
Mm-hmm.
watching his press conference, his intro press conference, the
Mm-hmm.
dude seems like he embodies everything that Jonathan Gannon, Monty Ossenfort, like that they want to bring in. And the thing that
Mm-hmm.
gives me optimism about him is like hearing him talk about how he prepares or how he prepared for his games in college and like, the things that he looked at, the way that he like went through his film.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he seems like the type of guy that you're not going to worry about him working out in the off season. You're not going to worry about him working out, doing the extra things to try to get better.
Yep.
And that's the stuff that really like, again, going back to the big boards, you can look at the film all you want. And these people can look at the film and grade these players all they want, but like they can't grade the actual person. Like, is he going to come out there and put in the work, put in the time to actually get better? Because there's so many people that have talent that just
Mm-hmm.
waste it by not like actually like doing the things outside of playing like the actual game. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm optimistic with him. You know what I'm saying? But I think it was a pretty safe pick. Um, so yeah, I don't
Mm-hmm.
mind it.
Yeah, I agree fully with your sentiment. Like again, like uh Johnny Newton, I think he would have been we mentioned how much we thought he would be an impact player for this team. And I think when you mention the word safe, I think it's a good word because like you kind of can get the best of both worlds of what you kind of needed with the Darius Robinson. Like Johnny Newton, you knew he was an inside defensive lineman that could be a gap filler and a pass rusher from the inside. But with Darius Robinson, you think you can kind of take him from inside to maybe right inside the guard or right inside the tackle to all the way on the edge and
Yeah,
some type of front. So I think, like you mentioned, like safe, yes, but in terms of what we kind of needed on this football team, it kind of makes sense as well. And just his overall impact, like you said, that video on how he prepares was amazing. Just that whole spiel. So hopefully he learns how to do that in the NFL quickly. And he also mentions all the time about just he says he just wants to be better than he was yesterday. So I think that's just like you said, it's just they took a lot of their guys, like a lot of people that
they did.
that they believe are football players, and I I can't really fault them for that because what they showed me so far is that in their first draft they took a lot of their guys that they feel like are high character football players and people that want to be there, and they panned out pretty well from literally top to bottom. So if that can work out again this year with the same type of mantra of the ideas they want to get in terms of the player, and then they pan out the same way, like I can't really be too upset about it. But I do kind of agree with the floor sentiment that it was a safer pick other than, but again, a lot of the edges that we thought may have been out there, like a Chop, he got picked up early.
He
Latu
went
got picked up
early.
early. Verse got picked
Yeah.
around his time. Arnold got moved up for. So or not Arnold, but Turner got moved up for. So
Dallas Turner. Yeah.
it's just it kind of fell the board kind of fell that way, and it was an option of DeJean or Kool-Aid. It was either corner or what can this guy D lineman do wise, and I think that was just the most important option of it. So I like the Darius Robinson pick. I think he can be a high impact player immediately. And again, you look across that D line, whose spot can he not take right away? And that's kind of where I look at it.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
mean, yeah, that's
it's worth
true.
the first round pick if you can clearly see that he's going to take somebody's spot and play right away. And again, we mentioned their D line rotation, how they want to do that. They added multiple pieces to the D line, and then you add one more piece to the D line like this, and that's what we thought we
Who
kind of
can
would
play
get them.
multiple
Mm-hmm.
and he can play
Yeah,
multiple positions, like you said, B gap,
yeah.
outside the tackle, over the
Mm-hmm.
tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
So
so yeah.
I like the pick. I think it'll be a high impact player. Real quick, G Swervo time. Then appreciate you coming through. Best way to do it. High character guys, and I agree. High character
Appreciate you,
guys
Greg.
will always come through. In the end of the day. So as we are joined by my brother, real quick, we can talk about the first round wrap up as he slugs the beer down after work. What's up, Jay? How you feeling,
Boy,
brother?
fresh off work.
Yes, sir. Yep, doing good. Happy to be here, fellas. Sorry about
Mm-hmm.
late entry, but yeah, stoked to be here and feeling good, feeling real good.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. So real quick, we kind of just wrapped up the first round, but any thoughts that you had about Marvin Harrison Jr. finally becoming a Cardinal and then Darius Robinson coming through?
Yeah,
black down on me. There you go.
am I there?
There you go.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling great. I know I talked down. It must have been on the pod. I know in texting you guys and stuff. I was really feeling like Monty was going to trade down, and I honestly convinced myself that that was the right play. Just because, to be honest with you, I really am so used to this fan base just letting me down since I really started becoming a fan back in 2007. And I just really did not set myself up, not even in season, to just get let down. So I was like, yep, we got to trade down, acquire the assets, blah, blah, blah. Malik just is good, Rome, the whole 9 yards. But as it started getting closer and closer, I definitely started finding myself just really hoping that we were going to stick and pick. Contrary to popular belief on X, I guess. Yeah, have to throw that out there. Shout out Cardinals Huddle. But yeah, and then especially too, obviously Marv, there's not really a ton of detail to go into there. He's a pro's pro. He's gonna be an animal. I just traded an absolute King's Bounty for him in my Dynasty League. Safe to say I believe in him and I wanted this guy badly. As Darius goes, I'm psyched, man. I didn't know him too well. Honestly, going into the draft and mock drafts and stuff, I saw the name thrown around, and I honestly just kind of the Robinson that I was kind of focused on was Chop. So I didn't do a ton of homework myself on Darius, but dude, looking into him, the guy's a freak. What is he like? I want to say 6'5", 285. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Accurate. Very accurate.
Yeah. All right, cool. I must have seen it at some point. But dude, he's got a ton of skill. He's a beast. Had 8-9 sacks last year. Is versatile, can kind of line up in a couple different spots. Really fits the culture that Monty and JG are trying to establish out there in the desert. And just listening to him too, I'm sure you guys both watched the live or the recorded version of the two of them in the introductory press conference. Seemed like they just kind of gelled well together. We're both very, very well spoken, just passionate football guys. And I think one of the answers that stood out to me the most was Darius Robinson was asked about or they were both asked about like their hobbies and interests outside of football, and he like gave an answer, was like, yeah, like philanthropy, and that was basically it. And then he was like, outside of that, just football. So I,
Mhm.
as far as like being like a passionate fan, like that's really all you're looking for, right? Like
Mhm.
he's a good guy, he's humble, but he's also like very confident in himself and his abilities. He outworks everyone, and all he knows is ball. So
Mhm.
I couldn't be happier, to be honest with it, with those first 2 picks at least. So yeah.
Yeah, the point that you mentioned about the Darius Robinson stuff, I agree with you. Like you said, like the high character and stuff like we G Swervo mentioned the high character and what you've been saying. Yeah, I mean he even has a master's in I think it's like positive like
Yeah, that's right.
culture and
He has
yeah,
2
like it's like
degrees, right?
positive culture and athletic leadership. Like
Yeah.
first of all, what class is that?
Right.
I went to college. That just doesn't even sound like a class. So first of all, I don't even know what that is, but that's one of them created courses for somebody to pass. But yeah, like that's like to me, if whatever he's doing in those classes, if that can translate to the field, like that's going to be a player that can be a captain at some point on the football team and just an overall
Oh,
leader
he
of
definitely
of
gives
the
those
squad. So
vibes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so if we get a player like that can be consistent for 8-9 years and just a stalwart on that defensive line, then I feel like the draft has been won in the first round. So definitely moves me. So
Yeah.
let me get us set up right quick because I definitely got locked in here with y'all, so I can add this on here. So boom, we lock it in. All right, bet. Y'all can see that?
Yeah, let's ride.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Yes, sir.
So boom, so third round, or the second round, excuse me, the first pick in the second round. We kind of moved down with Atlanta, I believe. So we didn't get a chance to at that point where a lot of people would talk after the first round, Johnny Newton, Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid could have even still been right there. We actually end up trading down with Atlanta, but getting an extra third rounder in that deal. But you end up moving down and you get Max Melton, cornerback out of Rutgers. Got a little PFF, a little screenshot of his PFF right here. Decent grades all around. But again, another player where the grades don't emulate kind of what he is as on the football field. You're doing any research on this guy, you can easily see this guy loves football. He loves competing. When we made the Marvin Harrison Jr. actually tweeted the Arizona Cardinals and mentioned that he just always kind of liked this game when they matched up, as they saw each other a couple of times in the Big Ten. So if you got your best player who you just took number 4 overall, and he's mentioning that he respects the game of a cornerback that were drafted in the second round, then you kind of think that you're working with something. So what are you guys' feelings about Mad Max? I'm loving the pick. I think that's my second favorite pick that's not named Marvin Harrison Jr. We'll get into my first favorite pick that isn't Marvin Harrison Jr. But Max Melton, cornerback out of Rutgers, tough, competitive, athletic, very quick-witted corner. How are you guys feeling about him?
So I'll say real quick. We came into a situation our last mock draft where we were in a position in the second round where we didn't like any of the people there, and we traded back,
Yep.
and we were able to we traded back, mock draft and stuff, and we got a 4th round pick. So for Monty to get a 3rd round pick, you know what I'm saying, moving back 8 spots,
Right.
But finessing.
that kind of helped sell me on this pick just because I really wanted Kool-Aid. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and for us to pass on him, DeJean, which I wasn't like, I don't know, I wasn't as high on him as I was on Kool-Aid, and Johnny Newton. In order for us to get a 3rd round pick, like I think automatically, like that's a dub.
Yep.
But as far as Max, like the prospect, like dude was like one of the fastest cornerbacks at the combine. Like I think he had like one of the like highest vertical leaps too. Like just a crazy athlete. I know his brother's in the NFL right now. Bo Melton's he's on the Packers. I think he's a wide receiver. And I want to say he started every year at Rutgers. I think he started since a freshman at Rutgers. So like 4 years of starting experience. Marv respects him. And actually I remember watching that game this year because I had betted on Rutgers that game to cover the spread that game, which they did. First half, cover the spread that game, which they did. And Marv was getting locked up that entire game. I think he had like 2 catches for like 20 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, but like it was, I mean, both of those catches were touchdowns. He didn't do anything outside the red zone. So, and a part of that was Max Melton. I was looking at Baldy. I think he had like an interesting breakdown of him on X, where he was just talking about how his instincts and off press coverage, like dude can read and react, come down, break on the ball. And that's what we need. We played a lot of off coverage last year.
Yep.
So I'm messing with the pick. I'm rocking with the pick. I like Max.
Yep. As you mentioned that off coverage real quick for Jay goes, as you can see, his zone coverage grade 74.6, upper percentile.
Yeah.
So there's a guy that kind of has, like you mentioned, plays with the instincts, plays with awareness, and like you mentioned, we played a lot of quarters coverage. And I'm hopeful that this year we kind of look to, if we have corners that we feel like are solid out there and comfortable, defending one-on-one, that you do see a little bit more off press, heat up the quarterback, a couple, engage 8 blitzes and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting to see. But Jake, how you feel about Mad Max? I feel like this will be one of your favorites throughout the season. That's just my opinion. But how you feel about Mad Max Melton so far?
Yeah, I love the pick. I feel like you got to trust in Monty. I think like all of us, like the three of us, and like just the Red Sea in general, we're kind of questioning the move with some of those top names still at the board and the trade back, kind of like missing out on DeJean and Kool-Aid. Remind me where Arnold went again, pick wise. Was it like 2 before us or
20? Oh, Terrion Arnold?
Yeah, my bad.
I thought did they move up for him, or did they either
maybe
he went
was like
20,
23 or something
20,
like that?
I was gonna say 23 or 24. That was the number I was thinking.
Yeah.
But I think he was gone before we had a chance to be on the board.
Yeah. That was definitely like who I was gunning for at the position.
Yeah. Especially when he started dropping. I thought exactly that's who you're about to get.
Exactly. I heard someone say that it was Tyrann Mathieu, and like after that I was like, all right, like guy. But but no, I mean, I would say like you can look here in the graphic, but if you look at Max, like every year, basically every single one of those statistics on the left side, the career stats just gets better. Also, too, just wanted to point out his size pretty solid. He's have it pulled up here for a corner, 5'11", 190. Kind of like pretty solid. Like I know I was high on Sandstrill from Michigan, but kind of undersized. Like we do kind of just like need a dominant corner out there. So that I don't like. You can see too, like his touchdowns. Kind of crazy that like the guy had 11 touchdowns. It looks like 12 touchdowns for his career. Like that's pretty.
Yeah, that is actually kind of crazy.
You know what I'm saying? You have corners that like maybe have like 3 in their career in college, so that are like so super impressed with that. Like obviously you can see like his stats just got better year by year. The dude has it like, and I would say too, like this is more of like a personal I guess like attribute to point to, but I think the guy has like a ton of just like straight up like swag. Like
yes, absolutely.
He brings like an
he
energy.
does yeah he does.
Like his combine fit, like the way that he carried himself, his attitude, and like I honestly love that. Like I feel like something that made like Tyron, like Pat Peterson, like before all the shit went down, like what made them so fun and such fan favorites outside of just being studs of position, where it was that swag aspect. And especially in today's day and age, like today's league, you kind of need that. Not saying like there's nothing wrong with like a Zaven Collins, like humble rumble type of guy. Shout out DJ, but
hey, chill, man. My guy ain't get his 5th year option picked up. I think it's something like that. She liked my tweet. I'm like, bro, we gonna get it. We gonna get it on our own. We just gotta get, gotta get right on our own stuff. So we'll be
he come out here and have 10 sacks this year. He'll be straight.
That's true.
I would love to see like on the side. I would love to see Zaven just ball out, and I honestly think he will. And like I could definitely see us like re-signing him. I kind of like that. It's almost Monty lighting a fire under his ass. Like the guy's a freak. You've been saying it forever, Corey. Like he's a massive dude. Like you just gotta unlock him in the right position. But aside from that, the rest of Max, like I love his stats. It looks like JG loves him, which is massive. Like this supposed defensive guru. So if he can go in there and mold him and kind of just take what Melton has already been building off of like throughout his career, I think he's really, really good. And I think it's telling that we could have taken DeJean or Kool-Aid, and Monty said, I'm all set. Like Like they clearly had their eyes. You know what I mean? And listen to it like the presser afterward, but Monty was like, yeah, we had like 5 or 6 guys that we figured would be there that we were comfortable taking. I don't know if he would come right out and say like we wanted Melton, but I that was kind of the vibe I got. Maybe that's just you know,
I mean,
like,
for a third round pick, for an extra third round pick, he was probably like, "Yeah, I'll take Melton."
right.
Yeah.
You know,
Like,
so
he didn't have Melton that much further behind DeJean and
right,
Kool-Aid, if at all.
Kool-Aid, yeah.
Like we're all like casuals at the end of the day. Like we don't really know. We're not seeing exactly what these scout teams are being paid like tons of money to see. So I'm really, really excited about the pick. And Corey, I definitely share your sentiment. I feel like this guy could end up being like one of our favorite picks as the year progresses. So
real quick, wanted to get a couple comments in. No, Mikey Desert he mentioned he liked TJ Tampa. He fell to he fell all the way down to I think the 5th round or something like that. So that was an interesting slide for him. But a team, the Ravens, of course, scoop him up. So we'll see if he can become that corner that a lot of people thought he would be. Real quick shout out to a couple people that came in here. Dana, I see you. We'll bring your comment up in 1 second. Mad Max defends well. He gets an interception. He blocks punts, does it all. He did mention that
I think he had 3. I think he had 3 block punts last year.
So a selfless player who clearly is their best corner on Rutgers and still decided to play special teams. So you can see the kind of selflessness that he feels, and he feels that he's good in that position. He's going to put himself in that position or ask to be put in that position. So that's good to see from the players. Like I said, real quick, shout out Dana. What's up, fellas? How you doing?
What up, Dana?
Appreciate you coming through. She asked me how the PHNS draft party was. It was a great time. Shout out Bo, Johnny, all the guys, Damon Dog. Met a whole bunch of people. Had a good group that I was with. Shout
out Mike Willie.
Yeah, had a group I was with. Talked to him. Michael Wilson came through, took a flick with him. So definitely was a great time. And hopefully I'm out in Arizona for another game this year. So we'll see what happens with that. But switching over to the next topic, or the next prospect, I should say, 3rd round, first pick of the 3rd round. Shad, your guy. Why don't you go ahead, just chop it out for him. Trey Benson, running back out of Florida State. I was surprised that we took a running back. I think everybody kind of knew we were going to take a running back. I didn't think it would be this early, but you end up getting, in a lot of people's eyes, running back 1 of the draft. So talk to me about Trey Benson, how you feeling about him, Florida State. You see the grades, all Blues. Sir. You love to see that. Great player, great prospect. So talk to me about him. How you feeling?
I was surprised that we took a running back this early too. But like if any of y'all follow Joe Como, the Cardinal Rule, he has this this almighty draft chart. And one of the things on it was Monty and his past. They only took running backs in rounds or up to round 3. After round 3, they weren't taking any running backs. So I figured either we would take one or we probably weren't going to draft one. But end up with Trey Benson, who I had as my RB1 this year. Like, I watched his tape, and like, dude is 6'2", 220 pounds. Basically built like James Conner, but runs a 4.3. Like, I think he had like one of the fastest. Like what's the tracking the tracking thing, like the next level? 40 times speed time or whatever. Yeah, he had one of the fastest. Yeah, the miles per hour. I think he had like he got up to like 22, 23 miles per hour last year, like multiple times. So I mean, dude, that if he could just stay healthy, which he seems like he's been healthy the last couple of years. It seems like his knee injuries are behind him. Like I'm loving this pick, and honestly, this whole round, the 3rd round, I just kind of dubbed as like the scheme fit round for the Cardinals, because all these players to me fit what they're trying to do perfectly. Like, clearly they want to run the ball. James Conner obviously is getting a little older. Like, who knows what his future is looking like. This dude, Trey Benson, like, you look at his highlights, you look at his tape, like, he looks like he can come in and maybe not like year 1, like be, elite or one of those top tier running backs. But like, as he kind of learns, like, and gets adjusted to the NFL speed, and kind of like, he does need to improve on his vision some, because he does bounce around a little bit. But if he gets a little bit more decisive, which I know he will, like, after a year, then he could really be a guy in the league for sure.
Yep,
for sure. You see, like, what does it say? 106 elusive rating. I think that was like one of the highest. Him and I want to say Bucky Irving had like one had one of the highest elusive ratings last year. Like, and then another
Yeah.
thing, contact balance. Like, this dude doesn't
Yeah.
go down after the first hit ever, like ever.
And as you mentioned with elusiveness, one player's like 160 pounds, and then another one's 215, 220 pounds. So
yeah,
I'm intrigued by Trey Benson. I can't wait to see what he can do for that on the football team. Jake, before you go, just want to say sayonara. It was good. It was a good year for you. It was a good year for you, Amari DiMercado. I hope you had fun on the team. I hope you got enough film, get a chance somewhere else.
bro. I
But it
don't
won't
ever
be with
want to
this
see.
team.
I don't ever want to see
Yes.
Amari. I don't ever want to see Amari play for the Cardinals ever again.
It won't
Him
be
and
with this team,
Keontae.
brother. Yeah, I don't even know where Keontae is now at this point.
I have no idea. I have no
Casualty,
idea.
but Amari DiMercado, hope you had fun. Hope you lived your NFL dream. You scored a touchdown. Congratulations. But you're done, brother. You're done with our team at least. I got 3 running backs that I would love to put out there in front of you now. So good luck to you, wherever you may travel to. Hope you have a good training camp. It'll be with us. It'll enjoy Arizona at that point. But
I do want to say I think this is interesting for Michael Carter because I don't know if they're gonna get rid of DJ just because they signed him like as a special teams guy.
I forgot
But
about him.
Carter, I honestly don't want to see DJ touching the ball either on offense, but I just don't know if they're gonna get rid of him. So, and I don't know if they're gonna go into the season with 4 running backs. So that's gonna be a camp battle to watch.
Jake, how you feeling about Trey Benson? Running back out of Florida State so far on the tracker of positions that we drafted, not positions that we drafted, but conferences that we drafted from. I got Big Ten, I got SEC, and then I have Big Ten again. And so now we're ACC. So I haven't heard anything from the Patriot League or wherever UMass plays and stuff like that, or the Ivy League. I haven't heard any players from there yet. So how you feeling about Trey Benson and what he can provide for the football team in the backfield position?
Yeah, I love it. I definitely didn't expect that pick. Funny, I was watching with some buddies, and I saw Shad's text in the group. It was like, we got the top back in the draft. I was like, damn, like that. But I saw, Trey Benson, and I actually watched like a surprising amount of FSU games last year, and I remember saying like last year too, like, because I didn't know him like super well up until last year. I was like, this guy is such a stud. Like, you've seen all the runs he was able to break off. Yeah, weirdly, I thought he was 6'2" as well, Shad, but it's actually saying he's 6 foot, 220.
Okay.
And honestly, dude, either kind of like comes to mind. I don't know how much you guys are gonna like the comp, but he kind of gives me a little bit of a Le'Veon Bell feel as far as the elusiveness goes. Lev was 6'1", 230, so like a little bigger, but just a side-by-side comparison here. So Trey ran a 4.39. Le'Veon ran a 4.6, so he obviously killed him there.
Yeah.
Trey had him 1.52 in the 10-yard split versus 1.57. Bell's vert was 31.5 versus Trey's 33.5. And then the jump, Trey 10 feet 2 inches versus 9 feet 10 inches. So, and obviously Le'Veon Bell is pretty great back in the league. I mean, it's obvious that Trey runs with a lot more power, but as far as this goes, like, dude, this guy reminds me so much of James Conner, just a faster version. But he can catch the ball too, right? Like really, he's like, they clearly love James Conner and like what he brings to the team. And this was clearly like, all right, when James is done, like, this is the next guy up to do like the exact same thing, like at a faster speed with like maybe more pop. Like this guy is legit. I am as like a 5-star blue chip pick. I absolutely love it. I really can't wait. And honestly too, like, I know, Shad, you were saying he might not be ready year one. I think, like, looking at the tape and like, what do I know? But I feel like this guy could be like ready to pop right when he gets on.
I hope so.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Them
maybe
those
just to like harden up.
Yeah, those runs that like we seen James Conner like break, and it's like he huffing and puffing, and we just know he not gonna make it. Ain't nobody catching Trey Benson.
Right.
They not catching him at all. So like, and that's something like we haven't had a home run threat like that at the running back position since David Johnson. So like,
I was
prime
gonna
David
say,
Johnson.
do we feel like he can possibly have a David Johnson type of impact in his rookie season coming in?
I don't think so, just because I don't think he's going to see the snaps unless Connor like inevitably gets hurt again. But
Which he will.
He does like. I feel like I'm ready to say like, yeah, he's like at that David Johnson like rookie year type of level, or second year, whichever year he just absolutely exploded at.
Okay, I'm intrigued as well. Mikey Desert Carter came in. He said, "My namesake, Michael Carter." Well, I know you have a feeling about that. Then, namesake Michael Carter is a stud. He's shifting. He plays with a full off season. I think he can flourish in the system, and I believe so too.
I want him to stay.
Yeah, in my opinion, he's running back 3. I think, like we mentioned, like DJ Dallas just doesn't, he doesn't see the field at all. He's a special teams only player, and that's just, he got paid to be a special teams only player. So I don't know if I like that, but at the end of the day, he got paid to be a special teams only player. So hopefully he's running back 4. Amari DiMercado is either on another team or the practice squad, and then you got your 3 running backs who we feel comfortable, putting out there, receiving carries and going out there on the football field. So I like them all. I like all the picks, not all the picks, but all the running backs that we have in the system that I want to play. And then, we'll see what Trey Benson can add towards this football team. So,
dude, just a quick chip here. Just airing David Johnson's draft profile. So Trey's got him with the 4.39 to the 4.5. Trey has him in the 10-yard, 1.52 to 1.57. Dude. David Johnson, his vertical was 41.5, which is like this guy. that is insane.
My guy,
crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could definitely be the second coming of the Humble Rumble for sure.
Yes, sir. Well, next third round pick came in, and a lot of people, kind of were taken back at it again. We're talking about the rounds where we start talking about boards and where some people might have certain players and where other people might have certain players, but did come up to be Isaiah Adams was the next pick. So he's listed at tackle on PFF, but we kind of knew here, like, based on what we thought he could be, he'll end up playing guard first, and that's kind of his better position. Overall,
yeah, for everybody watching, just pay attention to that 2022 stats.
Yep. Yeah. As you can see, a ton of run blocking snaps. Overall, just he does feel like a mauler in the run game. I think a lot of people came out and said, okay, well, he played tackle this year, as I'll show in the next slide. Like his 2022 season, he played majority of the snaps at left guard, and I think that's what the team kind of envisioned for him. And I think that's overall what he'll be. This past season, he played 730 snaps at right tackle, and again, his coaches mentioned that they only did that out of necessity because he's so willing to, help out the team in any sense that he may need him. But his main position probably in the NFL will be guard. 6'4" player, 315 pounds, 33-inch arms. So at the end of the day, like talking about a player that can be a mauler in a run game, and he's a heavier player. He's a wide player. I know he got him comps to Jonah Jackson, who was a player in Detroit that Dave Sears actually drafted. So you can see Dave Sears kind of has a type of build and structure when it comes to drafting guards. And he did that with Isaiah Adams. So how are you feeling about Isaiah Adams? Can he win over that left guard spot, or is it going to be more so what we talked about pre-draft, which was that now they have 4 to 5 guys at that position who wants to start, who wants to be the starter for the football team, who wants to be the week 1 starter. And then if you end up, fucking up or playing badly, we will take your ass out and put the next guy in. So that's my opinion. I think that's more so how it'll be for me. Again, like Isaiah Adams, if you earn that starting spot, good luck to you. But I think there's competition immensely at the one spot that had a rotating door at it. So everybody, I feel like there's 4 out of 5 spots locked in on the offensive line who wants their 5th spot. So I'm excited to see the competition that comes out and just, overall what he can bring to the table. But how are you boys feeling about, Isaiah Adams at guard and or tackle or, any position that he could play?
Yeah, so I was gonna say real quick, like Dana said, from everything she's been able to find, that the league was higher on Adams than the consensus board, and that makes sense. Like you look at like the consensus boards. I said this like earlier in the pod. Like the big boards are all just like people. They're rating the players off of like whatever they see on tape. Like they're not talking to these dudes, and none of these people probably looked at Isaiah Adams guard hot tape from 2022. It probably wasn't even out there for them to look at. So you look at him at left tackle or right tackle, whatever he played last year, he did not look good. But at guard, he looked great. And I think it was either the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, whichever one he was at. I think the Cards had like their offensive line coach there, coaching. So he was right there, hands on with this dude. And initially when we drafted him, yeah, there were guys like Cooper Beebe that was available, guys that were I want to say the dude from UConn or what, Christian Haynes. I think he was available. It was other guards available, but like I'm looking at this like, okay, this is a scheme fit. Like if they feel like he can come in and compete at that guard spot. And honestly, I'm just trusting Monty and I'm trusting the scouting staff with this pick. If they feel like he fits the system, the scheme better, then so be it. Like that's why I said this round was like the scheme fit round because all these guys, like none of us really had like, high, or we looked at them extensively and thought, oh, okay, yeah, this dude he should be a top 100 player or whatever. But that's not our job to do that. You know what I'm saying? That's not our job to do that. But I'm optimistic about Isaiah. I definitely feel like he's going to have to compete for the left guard position. And I feel like, they might go into the season with maybe 10 offensive linemen. I think last year they went in with 8, if I remember correctly. I think they went in with 8 offensive linemen. So like, which isn't that many. So he's definitely going to have to compete for that starting job. I don't know if he's going to get it year one or right away, but I'm optimistic.
And even so, I mean, if you end up being a swing guard, through whatever it is, say Will Hernandez gets hurt for a game or two with a knee or something like that, he steps in and now he can fill in right there too. So like at the end of the day, if you get good guard depth, you can never have what Monty Ossenfort is clearly proven to us is that can never have too many offensive line for days. That like, oh, if this guy gets a shot chance, even the bum like Wilkinson, like like he can somewhat do something at some time. So you can never have too many offensive line. Monty Ossenfort is showing me, but I feel about Isaiah than the football team.
Yeah, sorry, you kind of cut out. Were you talking to me, Corey?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about Isaiah. Yeah, it's definitely a solid depth piece. I like the fact that obviously we're gonna utilize him. We drafted him to play guard rather than a tackle where he just downright got exposed last year. But yeah, definitely. I can get behind the pick. That definitely never hurts. Get more depth on the line, especially when you gotta protect a guy like Kyler. So, yeah, big body. Showed some great skill at the guard position in 2022. So, like you said, Corey, kind of just got to focus on that and ignore last year.
Yeah, I'm definitely like I said, if he can bring anything to the football team. You beat guard depth. I'm perfectly fine with that. And I think that's supplemental for the football team. So, real quick, another comment from Mikey. He mentioned.
Yeah, I want to.
But
no, you can read out his comment.
Oh, I was gonna say he just said I think too much stock is put in the Senior Bowl tape. Put on the tape for the whole year and base it on that. So, my bad, I read that crazy wrong. I think too much stock is put on the Senior Bowl, put on the tape the whole year and base it on that. I agree. I think that's what a lot of people should do. But a lot of the Senior Bowl stuff is for players that might have felt like their tape either in the season and or their recognition isn't getting prosperous. So it's like you got to juggle both parties of. Well, it's like again, like a player like Quinyon Mitchell, who his tape might have been good throughout the season and stuff like that, but he wasn't going to get crazy recognition until he went to Senior Bowl and balled out as well. So I think it's a good juggle that you got to deal with that.
And I want to say to that, like again, you pay attention to the 2023 tape. He played right tackle. You go look at the 2022 tape, which I personally haven't looked at it. I feel like a lot of people haven't looked at it, but the Cardinals have looked at it. And one thing from that team, that Illinois team, I think they were semifinalists in the offensive line like award for college football. So, and also I heard multiple people say like, hey, like if he continued to play guard, like the season that he had was a great season as a guard. I mean, you look at his PFF grade, if you go back, like I want to say it was like 77 or like 75 or something like that. Like he put out great film. Yeah, he put out great film, over the course of the year that he played at guard. And the idea is that, the idea is that he can come in and do that and still grow on our team at the guard position. So I wouldn't even really I think this is a rare case where you could say that 2023 tape, throw it away because he's never gonna play tackle. He didn't look good at it at all, so he's never gonna play tackle.
Dana
Yeah.
mentioned our coaches got to directly interact and teach these players. So yes, they need to go back and watch the tape and how much their player grew. But you can't underestimate the hands-on stuff, which again, as we noticed, a lot of our coaches are always at these postseason events, whether it be Shrine Bowl. I know Drew Terrell, wide receiver coach, was out at the Shrine Bowl. I think he was actually offensive coordinator for that game. So he got a lot of visual stuff on a lot of players, including the next player that we'll talk about. And then I know we had a lot of coaches at Senior Bowl as well. So clearly, Monty Ossenfort likes to send these guys out there. He has a great relationship with Jim Nagy, clearly, because they draft a lot of the same players that they both like. Isaiah Adams actually was Jim Nagy, who was the director of the Senior Bowl. That was his sleeper pick. So we ended up drafting their offensive sleeper as well as their defensive sleeper, who we'll get into next or later. But they just clearly have an eye for their own talent and what those players can do for their team. And as Shaw mentioned, like just a lot of scheme fit players in this round, as you can see. And then stepping on to even the next one, we got the most controversial one. Mikey, you mentioned them.
Tip.
Big Tip Raymond. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll have this fan base, and everybody will have a field day with this name. I can't believe his first name is really Tip. I want to know what his actual first name is. It cannot be Tip. There's no way that people really came out and started and said that their son was going to be named Tip, but neither here nor there. Tip Raymond out of Illinois, tight end. As you can see on his PFF, not too many great scores. He has a very low production when it comes to statistics. But as we mentioned, this is kind of the scheme fit round. And immediately when we drafted him, I actually had a tweet from Damian Parsons, who works at the Draft Network, I believe. He mentioned, he was talking about Tip as a prospect on Twitter, and just mentioned how he didn't have crazy production, but he had great athleticism and he was a very good run blocker. And I said to myself, that sounds like a Drew Petzing, type of tight end. That just literally sounds like a Drew Petzing type of tight end, a tight end that can come in and be a sneaky, flat receiver out of the backfield, or take some tight end screens here or there, and as well be an end of line blocker at the position. And we kind of saw Jeff Swain do a lot of that stuff this year. Elijah Higgins was tight end too, yes, and a lot of people don't understand this. Elijah Higgins was tight end too, but he was much more of a receiving tight end than he ever was at an end line blocker or going out there and being a kick out blocker, whatever that may look like, a seal blocker. He didn't do much of that. He did strictly, receiving when we did play action sets of the two tight ends. Jeff Swain would be the one to come in there and then start doing the blocking, the little leak out plays, the flat plays. So now, instead of having I don't know how old Jeff Swain is. I know he's been in the NFL for a while, but I also know he's slow. I also know he's not that athletic, but I do know he's a very high IQ player. Well, you replace that with another high IQ player in Tip, who a lot of people are mentioning he has a great IQ and a great feel for the game, as well as having an amazing athletic score that he does. His role is clearly defined. He has a clear role on a football team. He will be your tight end too when it comes to run sets, when it comes to dynamic H-back sets. Again, I don't remember really seeing us run I formation. I guarantee you, if he shows out in training camp, he will be the fullback. We will run I formation and he will be a fullback out there. We will have I formation sets. We will have, he's a clear H-back. Just think of Kyle Juszczyk. If we're trying to run the Kyle Shanahan system, think of Kyle Juszczyk. That's exactly, he may not be as slim and fast as Kyle Juszczyk, but that is the clear, like,
He might be faster. He might be faster than Juszczyk.
Say, if he's faster, then turn me up, because that's the clear idea for him, is that he will be an extra blocker in the run game, but he will also be a leak out guy that you can find in the flat, and that he can take, he can beat out the third linebacker that may be covering him, or the smaller safety that may be on top of him. He can out muscle for a couple extra yards. That's the idea of Tip Raymond. So again, Mikey, I know you mentioned that it may be a reach, and I get that. You feel me? I don't understand. A lot of people like that value comes to a lot of people's heads, and I understand that. But he clearly has a role, and if you don't understand that he doesn't have a role, it's almost like you weren't watching the football team last year and how they want to play. They don't want to be in 3-4 wide receivers all the time. They rather have two tight ends on the field, one that's dynamic like Trey, who can be a wide receiver, and then one that can maul you and put you on your ass, just in case they end up running any type of run play. So he has a clear role to me. I can't wait for our weekly segment that's coming up this season. Highlight his best plays. We're gonna call it "Get Tipped," "Getting Tipped," or whatever you want to call it. Get the tip. I don't even know, but just he has a clear role, and I can't wait to see what he can do on the football field for this football team, because I think that was a missing piece, or not a missing piece, but that's what makes San Francisco dynamic, is the fact that they can go out there with a huge check, and he can do a lot of stuff that a lot of people can't do at the position. So if Tip's able to do that, I'm turned about Tip, and I love the pick. So how y'all feeling about Tip Raymond, and do y'all feel like it was too much to take a tight end in this round? Because again, we mentioned, I don't know if y'all remember my first mock draft that we did on here. I took a tight end. I took a tight end literally just for blocking. Like I looked at whatever tight end was the best at blocking on the draft big, and then I took him because I thought that was something that we needed, especially youth. So well, how are y'all feeling about Tip, and do you think that he can be an impact player for this team at some point before he may be in the extension or whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
You can go ahead. You can go first, Jake.
All right, cool. Yeah. I definitely hated the pick right off, just because, like, you think Trey McBride, like, honestly, Corey, good due diligence by you, like, looking into a blocker, but like, I mean, I'll go on record in saying I hated the Trey McBride pick when it happened too. A lot. I hated it. Traded for Hollywood, which at the time I loved, and then with the the first pick after that, it was Trey McBride, which I didn't think we needed that guy, which obviously I was completely wrong about. So hopefully but no, I mean, you draft a tight end when you don't necessarily on paper need a tight end, middle third round. Like these guys aren't stupid. This isn't like the Steve Keim show anymore, where you're just like, honestly, for like the greater part of his entire tenure with the Cardinals, pretty much throwing shit at the wall and hoping it's stuck. Seriously,
literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Go back and like look at his picks, and like a lot of them just like literally made no sense. Like it was just like taking a name, or like I'm just convinced he like didn't do any due diligence, and that it couldn't be more of the polar opposite with this new crew in town. So if they're willing to draft a tight end middle third round when we don't necessarily need one, it's obviously for a very specific and crucial reason, right? And like Corey, I think you were touching on it. Like the guy's obviously like gonna be serving the purpose of more diversity as far as like schemes we can run. Obviously they love the guy to take him so early. He ran a 4.6, which is like pretty insane for a guy that's 6'5", 275. Like, that's like, he's clearly an athletic specimen. He had an 87 for his athleticism score, which is the number one rank among all tight ends. What tanked his draft stock was the production score of 53, which ranked 16th. That's because he just didn't really see the ball, and like that's clearly not what we brought him onto the team to do, right? So I would love to see him in as a fullback, like a 6'5", 275-pound fullback that runs a 4.6. Like he's gonna damage. So the more about it, the more I talk about it, the more I look into it. I'm pretty hyped about it, and honestly, above all else, like until they prove to me that like this isn't true, I just have like blind loyalty and trust in the guys that are running this team right now. So kind of where I stand.
I can only imagine a power gap scheme run play. He's the one coming from the backside. He's kicking out, and he just literally flatlines a guy. So that sparks a big run and another extra. I literally can see that happening. And again, he has to go out the field and prove it. So that can't be a non-end-all be-all based on what we think a player can do. So he has to go out there and prove it. But if he proves what at least his production showed as a blocker and as an athletic player, we're in for a good treat. We're in for a good specimen when it comes to, assets to this football team. And again, another big guy to protect Kyler Murray. Another big guy for Kyler Murray to throw to as a target. Like this is just that's how you build around a player that we mentioned to be shorter than the aspect of what a quarterback would normally be. That's how you do it. That's how you build around him and stuff like that. So I'm excited for him, and I'm hopeful that they put him in good positions, to be successful, and he can win over this fan base quickly. And if he's able to win over this fan base, it won't matter where you get picked. Like at the end of the day, if he has, if he's a productive player and a scheme wise player that it's impactful on Sundays, nobody will care where you got drafted because we'll just know that Tip is an important player for the football team. Almost like like we mentioned, like a Jeff Swain, but like how Max Williams was in 2021, where he kind of was a starter until he got hurt. But just just that big body.
And Max Williams was known as a blocker before he came to AZ.
Exactly. So if we give him chances, I'm excited to see what he do, what he can do, I should say. Mikey Desert Cardinal. He mentioned that his name is actually Tip Ryman Jr. So Tip Jr. TJ. TJ. I would have.
TJ sounds better.
Yeah, I don't understand why he continued on with Tip. I would have went with TJ, but maybe that's just me. But tipped, get tipped. I can't wait for Nick Bosa to get tipped. That'll be a great day.
So I was gonna say so like initially when it came to the draft pick, like I was kind of like you, Jake. Like it wasn't really sitting right with me. I'm just like, okay, we going back to back Illinois players, and then now we're getting a tight end. Like I know we needed a guard, right? But now we getting a tight end. But honestly, like after like a couple of days, like I'm actually bought in on Tip. I feel like we just drafted a 4-year starter and 12 personnel. I think this guy he's a top 10 tight end from an athletic standpoint to ever come. Well, I say ever, but like to come out the draft since like the 80s or something like that. He was the strongest tight end at the combine. Hell, he was stronger than some offensive linemen at the combine. I think he had like 28, 29 bench press reps. I think he was the only guy to like move the sleds at the combine. Dude is just a freak athlete, right? Like we know that. We know he's a freak athlete. But I don't want people to think that just because he's a blocker doesn't mean he can catch, because he can catch the ball. Like you watch him go through the tight end drills at the combine. He looks so smooth catching the ball, running, I think it was like the gauntlet drill, at 270 pounds. Like you mentioned, Corey, he's a big body, which we need for Kyler. Think about all the times we have a tight end or like Jeff Swain or whoever is come in and run that little curl route across the middle. You know what I'm saying? And all we need him to do is just catch the ball, hold on to it, which I think he'll have no problem doing that. And as far as his speed, I do think that he'll get used vertically a little bit. Like he's not going to be running 20, 30, 40 yards down the field. But just because he does have that speed, okay, that's a threat to, to a DB or to a linebacker where it's like, oh shit, like this guy's running full speed at me. Like he's actually faster than I think. Next thing you know, he's thinking about that. The ball's going someplace else. I definitely think that he's going to get used a lot next year. Like I do think he's going to start. And as far as his blocking, right now he's a better inline blocker than he is like blocking in space. So like, screen passes and stuff like that. He's probably gonna lay some people out. But right now, like you watch his tape. I went back and watched, some of his highlights. And you watch the Penn State game, and he was inline blocking like defensive ends, Chop Robinson, whoever else, that Isaac dude, like it was nothing. Like they weren't bothering him at all. So I think this was a great pick, actually. Like hindsight, I think this was a really good pick. Scheme fit, I think they know exactly how they're going to use him, and I think we got a 4-year starter. I think we have our two tight ends locked in for the next 4 or 5 years, or whenever if they want to re-sign Tip. Obviously, they're going to re-sign. I think Trey is obviously going to get re-signed, but like this dude, I love the pick actually now. So
yeah, I'm with you.
I'm bought in with Tip.
Yeah, I'm with you. And real quick, before we continue on, just want to shout out the 25 people here. I think it's the most that we've ever had in one sitting. So I appreciate everybody that came through. And we're just wrapping up the draft for the Cardinals and, chopping it up with y'all. So don't be afraid to comment, leave your opinions and thoughts, and we'll put them up on the screen for you. So like you said, mentioned Tip. I'm excited to see what Tip can do for us. And surprising to hear you
don't
say
be surprised when
I thought you, I'm not going to lie, I thought you would be a little bit against it, but I'm surprised to hear you say it's a great pick. But
don't be surprised if Tip comes out next year and makes a crazy ass catch and we're like, yo, I thought he was just a run blocker. Nah, this dude, he can still play football. Just because he wasn't getting the ball, like he could still catch the ball. He could still play football.
They're definitely definitely stay tuned, everyone, on this pod for the new segment coming out next year, just the tip. So
Just the oh, that's gonna be fun right there. And like Jake, does it give you any vibes of like I mentioned, like the two tight end sets that you were seeing in New England for multiple years with Aaron Hernandez and Gronkowski, and Trey isn't as fast as Aaron, but and maybe Tip isn't the the pass catcher that Gronkowski ended up being, but still how much they used the two tight end sets and how advantageous it was to defenses that or how they manipulated the defense to cater towards them, and then they can counter strike with that. So
absolutely, absolutely. I think I mean Trey is obviously just so dynamic. Obviously mimicking the Aaron Hernandez piece where obviously Tip kind of emulates like the Gronk style, which obviously not the prospect that Gronk was, not even close. Gronk was like first or second tight end as far as like the prospects go, but size wise, like he's right there. And like I feel like his speed is getting slept on. Like he definitely can move, as you're saying. But for me, the biggest thing is just when you look at like pass catchers across the board, like last year, our average height of like pass catcher was like legit like 5'9" probably. Whereas this year, like, each receiver we brought in and then obviously another tight end, like these guys are big guys. And for Tyler, like obviously he is a little bit shorter. So like throwing over the line and like over defenders, like he does have to like angle the ball up a little bit more. So getting like just extra, like tall bodies in for him to throw to, it's like, I mean, I'm talking myself into throwing this guy to win MVP like right now. So
love it. Love the way you're talking right now.
Honestly, like I feel like it really was a great pick in hindsight. So trusting that boy Monty,
Yep. Final third round pick that we had, Elijah Jones out of Boston College, Jake, around your area. And again, I've yet to go through a pick that is not from a Power 5 conference. Another Power 5 conference player, ACC this time, Elijah Jones. So you can see, not that great of a 2022, but bounced back in 2023 in an amazing way with an 86.9 PFF grade, 6'1" corner, long arms, 31-inch arms, 185 pounds. So not as heavy, but this is another guy where I'm starting to, especially with the guy we'll talk about next, I'm starting to get a little bit of a no-fly zone feeling with the way that they're trying to build this group up. And as y'all know, that 2015, 2016 no-fly zone was one of the best groups that we've ever seen, at least the modern era of the Cardinals. So I'm starting to get a couple of those vibes, especially with Elijah Jones. Like I said, long, rangy corner, great man-to-man corner. You see his man coverage grade, 90.8. Completion percentage allowed was 32.5. So again, that's another great grade. Not a great zone coverage corner, but to me, this is a developmental corner that you can have out there that if a Sean Murphy Bunting goes down, or any corner that may go down, because it looks like CB2 on the outside and even nickel, including the next player that we'll talk about, it will be a competition. There'll be some good players on the sideline come week 1 or week 2, or whenever we start playing football. So I'm really excited to see what this defensive Nick Rollins does with his DBs and Jonathan Gannon does with his DBs. As we know, in Philly, they didn't have the greatest DBs, but he cooked them up and he kind of whipped them up into shape, and they perform like that. So you add decent level talent to that, to an evaluator and a scout and a developer of DB talent like Jonathan Gannon has shown to be. Watch out. So I said I'm excited about Elijah Jones. You guys got anything on him? How you feel about what he could do for this football team? Can he take somebody's starting spot? I don't know. Mad Max and Sean Murphy Bunting might got that locked down, but how y'all feeling about Eli Jones?
So I know y'all see that 18.1 passer rating allowed. That is insane.
Yep.
13 catches on 40 targets is insane. I think this was a best player available type pick.
Okay.
I definitely think this is a best player available type pick. But like, dude, if he can come out and that can translate, and like you mentioned, he's like what, 6'2", 190. I mean, he might bulk up to 200. It's the NFL, they tack on a couple extra pounds when they get there. Like, I don't know, man. Like, the sky's the limit for this dude. The The only thing about him is I know he's an older prospect. I want to say he's 24, so he may be 24, 25 probably when he starts
Mhm.
his rookie year. Maybe I'm not sure, but like I know he's 24 for sure. So I
Mhm.
just don't know. My only thing would be like, okay, has he reached his peak? Um, but man, like the traits and the production, like 5 interceptions in 9 games, 13 catches on 40 targets.
Mhm.
Everything looks good on paper, and I want to say he was the highest like cornerback drafted, like, or he was drafted the highest. Uh, he was the highest drafted cornerback for Boston College ever. So
Mhm.
Believe it.
hey, man, I'm pretty optimistic about this pick too. I'm pretty
Mhm.
optimistic about this pick too. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, obviously he's big body, or like a tall figure, I should say. Super athletic, 4'4" guy,
Mhm.
4.5 inch vertical, just about an 11-foot broad jump. Like the guy's definitely an athletic specimen. Led the ACC in interceptions last year. Obviously going against Jordan Travis at FSU.
In 9 games, by the way, which
Crazy.
is crazy.
Yeah, I did say
Yeah.
thanks for the reminder. He missed 3 games for personal reasons, so wasn't an injury.
Mhm.
I think, which is good. But yeah, I think he could end up being like a big sleeper. Like this guy plays with a ton of confidence, and
Mhm.
we're excited. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited for him too. Like I said,
Hey,
that room is just deep now. So competition is
It's
fluid in a lot of positions that you want to see it fluid in. So I'm excited for all that.
kind of funny, like watching the draft. I feel like I was getting super frustrated with like passing on these corners and like do this,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden Monty just shoved, like 3 right.
Mhm.
So that was
Yeah,
good.
three, two, especially two that you feel can play outside, and then the next guy that we talk about can possibly play inside. And even these guys have inside outside ability too. So you're drafting good value corners that can do a lot of things on the football field, as well as be prospects that can fill holes when needed. So I'm excited about Elijah Jones. Like I said, a lot of competition in that room. I'm getting a no fly zone feeling back. So I'm excited. We're going to see. So Classy Nasty came in and said we're going to be heroes. AZ 2024 draft class, and I'm hopeful for that. I think a lot this last 2023 and 2024 both has a chance to change this franchise for the better, and give us a different light than we've been seeing in the last 2 years. I mean, 8-26 or 8, or what are we? 4, yeah, we're 8 and I believe in 8-26 in the last 2 years, and that's a lot of losing to take as a fan. So I'm hopeful that these draft picks pan out for us, and we could turn that losing into winning um, going forward. So into the next pick, my favorite pick of the
hey,
draft.
real
Go
quick, I
ahead.
just want to shout out. I want to shout out Mikey's comment. He said, what did he say? He
All
said
right, this one right
my all time favorite Cardinals cornerback is Hall of Famer Aeneas Williams, 3rd round pick from Southern University. Hopefully, we can
here.
develop another cornerback like that again. I just want to say shout out to Southern University. That's my
Mhm.
I'm a product of them. That's my parents'
Okay,
alma mater. So yeah,
okay.
got to throw a little shout out to them. Yeah,
What's that? Us HBCU, right?
HBCU. That's Baton Rouge. Yeah, Baton
Yep.
Rouge.
hmm I always enjoy good HBCU here and there. I didn't go to one, but I definitely do enjoy going to them when I can. So shout out to HBCUs, of course. But as you mentioned, like I said, next pick right here, 4th round, first pick of our 4th round. My favorite player that we drafted in this draft, Dadrian Taylor Demison from Texas Tech. Definitely a high sleeper on a lot of people's boards. I know Brett Coleman, the dude, and then EJ, I think Snyder, the dudes at Bootleg Football, love DTD. A lot of people I mentioned in my comments. I know one of my dudes on Twitter, he mentioned me or shouted me out and said that he also loved DTD. It was kind of jealous that we took him. So DTD, I think this guy. I know we mentioned about Tyrann Matthew. I know Jake. I know you mentioned about Tyrann Matthew when it came to Max Melton. I think this really is the second coming to Tyrann Matthew right here.
Yep.
A deep ball safety, at least in terms of general, what he can do, that can come up and play, slot cornerback for you. It's not rare, but it's an ability that a lot of people don't seem to have, and I think he has it. He's one of the most, athletic cornerbacks that came out of the draft. I believe he ran I think he ran a 4.41 as 185 pounds, 152 split, 38, vertical jump and 10'3" broad jump. Overall, good athletic scores, but just an overall instinctual player, a player that I think can, like we mentioned, can play that free safety. And a lot of what was mentioned in Philadelphia, what Jonathan Gannon liked to do was have all three safeties have the ability to rotate from up top, or not three safeties, but have the two safeties in a nickel be able to rotate from up top to slot, rotate the up top to slot based on the strength of the defense. And I think if you put him out there in a nickel with the Buda Baker and a Jalen Thompson, that is I love the idea of that, because you can do so much with that. You can either drop two safeties and have one play free, because we saw Buda Baker play free safety more than we've ever seen him play, since he's been with the Cardinals, and he was still impactful. It wasn't the greatest season, but it was still impactful. But if you add two players like a Jalen Thompson that we know can still do that, but DTD can come down and do that too. This is a smart, great pick, and I think a lot of picks that we saw on defensive side were, as you mentioned, Shaw, were Jonathan Gannon's guys. Jonathan Gannon liked a lot of these players that we drafted on defense, and Monty went out and got him. As you see, I mean, you can see the 10.2 missed tackle percentage rate. He doesn't miss tackles when he comes upfield. Like, so at least he limits himself in missing tackles when he comes upfield. 20% forced incompletion rate, 76 coverage grade as technically a safety is pretty impressive. It's pretty, it means a lot when your safeties can come and play one-on-one, man-to-man defense against a slot receiver. Because again, the teams are putting CeeDee Lamb in the slot, they're putting Justin Jefferson in the slot, and now if you have a player that has the ability to do that, to cover one-on-one, you don't have to bump your best corner inside and have to trail with them. You can still run your scheme. So DTD, heavy sleeper, Keichel Clark, I love you. Damn, your spot is in trouble, brother. That was quick. And like I said, we all like Keichel, the dog that he is, and you know what he can be, but his spot's getting taken quick. I mean, they added two corners and this guy that can do a lot of inside out stuff, in my opinion. His spot is definitely in trouble. But how y'all feel about DTD? Do you guys think that he can end up getting, playing time this year, or will he have to maybe wait for a Buda or a Jalen to, move on and then get his opportunity? I think he can play immediately, but we'll see.
I think he can definitely play immediately. He definitely does like emulate Tyron with a lot of, even like the specs, height, weight. He's a little bit taller than Tyron, but very similar speed and other statistics. Much higher vertical though. I think looking at the highlight tape, like this guy, I think he hit the nail on the head. Like he definitely brings that honey badger type of play style. Great instincts. It looks like kind of a ball hawk and a really, really sound tackler. I definitely think he could come in and provide lift to the defense like right away, mixing in with, like two guys that are already Pro Bowl level. That's pretty much all I got to say on him, but super excited. I think that was a great pick.
So your feelings on DTD?
I think he plays a lot this year just because, like, Buda, we don't know what Buda's future is going to be with the Cardinals. And I feel like, you make this draft pick, like you got to kind of see what you have in him so that, if Buda's gone after this year, like, what's the plan at safety? I like the pick. Like, I like the player. Like, he's a dog on the field. Like, he's always around the football. He's a playmaker at safety, which is what you want. And as far as like Keichel, I think like last year, we played a lot of guys like out of necessity, and not saying that Keichel is not good, but he was a 6th-round pick. So like now you're bringing in more guys who are like 2nd-round pick corner, 3rd-round pick corner, basically a 3rd-round pick safety. So it's definitely gonna be a lot of competition, and some guys are gonna lose their job, or some guys are going to lose their job. I know personally, I don't want to see Chatchery on the field next year. So I don't know where he's at. Like a lot of and a lot of the secondary was kind of patchwork towards the end of the year because you had guys like Blunt, him, and Starling playing. So like we kind of talked about this, and I think we talked about this in our chat. Like we're kind of replacing a lot of these like practice squad type players and like kind of players that you just pick up off the street with actual like talent. These are guys getting drafted top 100 in the draft. Like this is actual talent. So interesting to see. I like the pick. I figured that we needed to get it. I thought that we should address the safety this year. and I'm glad they went out and did it.
Yeah,
So,
they're addressing a lot of the positions that we thought in this podcast that they thought they would do, or at least that we felt like
mhm.
they should do in terms of just replacement and filling bodies in certain positions. Because they could have just went out and be like, we need a ton of D linemen because we need a ton of edges, we need a ton of this, we need a ton of corners. We don't have any of this, but they filled each role in my position, in my opinion, perfectly, with just players that they like and that they want to see on their football team. So I'm a
Yeah,
big fan of
and
I'm a
you
big
have
fan
to
of
think.
Rabbit, but
Yeah, you had to think like I think one of y'all said like this is JG's pick. Like he's the
yeah,
safety guy.
yeah,
He feels like he can kind of develop that position better than any other position. Like you
yeah,
got to think like okay, he this was a guy that he really wanted, and first pick of day 3, this is who they went with. So I think that
yeah.
says a lot.
Yep. Yeah, DTD. I'm excited to see that we got him, that we snagged him up, and I'm excited to see what he can do in his JG defense. And another player who seemed like they talked to the Cardinals. He felt like they had a good feeling with the Cardinals, and that ended up being one. So you clearly see that these pre-draft interviews and this pre-scouting is very impactful towards what they want to end up picking. So excited to see what he can bring for the football team. Next pick.
And with that, I was gonna say with that before we get to the next pick, I don't know if y'all saw Nick Rallis talking about the interview he did with Elijah Jones.
Uh huh. No,
He
I
said it
actually
was
didn't see
one
it.
of the
What
best.
happened? I actually didn't see it.
He said it was one of the best interviews he's ever done. He said he came out the interview thinking like, dang, like he was
Yeah.
asking us questions like we need to incorporate in our interviews from now on. And he said that he reminded him a lot of Garrett Williams. So
Ooh,
high praise from Elijah Jones coming out the in his draft interview.
the boy Nick Rawls like himself an ACC corner. Okay, I see
There.
it. I see it. I see what's
Yeah.
going on right there. I like that. I like that. So maybe Elijah Jones might have a little bit of coach's favoritism. So we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't end up like that. But um, if those boys go out there and compete. I'm excited to see that. So last pick, or
Yeah.
not last pick, but the next pick, Xavier Thomas out of Clemson. This guy was definitely. You looked on the board, you still saw. I think Mo Kamara was still on the board at this point. Um, as I said it on the podcast before we ended out the last one, that Brady McGregor from Michigan was a guy I was looking for kind of around these rounds. I think this was our first or fifth round picks that we ended up acquiring. So Brady McGregor was another guy I was looking at, but Mo Kamara another guy I was looking at, and so I felt like that's kind of where we were possibly going. And they ended up going with Xavier Thomas, and I didn't say who because Xavier Thomas he's been at Clemson for forever. I think he played with Isaiah
For
Simmons. So
years.
um
For
so
years.
I think he was there when they won their last national championship. So with Trevor Lawrence and stuff like that. So this was a player that's been in college for a long time, but his story is so interesting how he ended up catching COVID and ballooning up to I think about 300 pounds. And so he had to work his way back to getting down from that to back to athletic shape. And just a very interesting story, very up and down story, a trajectory story that some teams would have been thrown off by his age because I think he's about 24, maybe 25 through when by the
24.
season
He's
starts.
24.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
a player that might be thrown off from a lot of teams' boards based off his age and his story of up and downness. But I'm glad that the Cardinals took this pick. I think this player could end up being another again sleeper pick in the backgrounds that Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon can utilize. And I think it's his first step quickness off of the edge that'll be his most impactful trait. You see it again. I'm not calling him Michael Parsons because nobody's as quick as that is, while still being as violent with his hands as he is. But I think that he's a really good developmental player when it comes to just speed rushing off the edge. Because again, the edge position is wide open. If Dennis Gardeck can get sacks based off of just being fast, I think Xavier Thomas, who's much more built than him and probably a little bit more athletic than Dennis Gardeck, can end up being a little bit of a productive player. So I'm definitely excited for Xavier Thomas. And I think that he has a chance to, there's a clear chance and a clear way that he can get on the field, and that's by being productive when he sees snaps. Because he'll get snaps because we know everybody here knows that the defensive line is a rotational aspect for this football team. So they go in and out all the time. Nobody just sticks out there at one point. So he'll have opportunities, and if you're successful and without there, you get pressure on the quarterback, you get sacks. You'll have some success as you can see. I mean, 32 hurries in 2023. So he put some pressure on the quarterback, and I think that at the end of the day, hurries and pressures are almost just as important as sacks. So how y'all feeling about Xavier Thomas? Can you guys see a role possibly for him this year? Or is he more so developmental pieces? I think Mikey right here is saying just a developmental player. Hopefully, he can develop into a decent player, a rotational piece on the defensive puzzle, kind of what we were just saying. So, how are you feeling about Xavier Thomas and what he can provide for the team?
Yeah, I can jump in real
Yeah,
quick.
so go ahead.
Go ahead, Jake. Go ahead, Jake.
I'll be short, Shad. Yeah, no, don't know a ton about this guy. I think what I think Shad, you had said, like the COVID aspect. Fact that this guy, if you're saying he ballooned up to about 300, that's he added over 50 pounds, which is insane. So to be able to get back in the field is, that's a testament to just like a high motor guy. So got to respect that. But no, as I think maybe Mikey is one that just touched on in the comment that you just read out, Corey. But I think you'll agree with like JG specifically said. I think it was on that little interview during the combine that PHNX was able to get with JG, where he said that they're going to be, instead of drafting like the like a true stud, they're kind of like looking for diamonds in the rough for this rotational front seven type of deal. So yeah, I think it'd be a great piece to kind of just rotate in and out. Like if I had to guess, like I'd guess like a couple sacks a year type of guy, decent amount of prep. It might be around, maybe ceiling around like 5-6 sacks, something like that. So yeah, great rotational piece. It's really all I have on him.
And Shaw, before you go real quick, just another thing I'm excited for to see. So as a prospect coming out, he came out of IMG Academy in the class of 2018. He was 260 pounds coming out of IMG. So that ballooning, quote unquote, up is kind of him going up about 40 pounds, but now he's 244. So he cut almost 60 pounds off of that. So you can tell that he has some type of work ethic in terms of, getting himself in shape. But this guy was the number one recruit in Florida, the number one defensive end in the nation, or not. He was the number one recruit in Florida, the number one defensive end in the nation, and number 4 nationally coming out as a recruit. So he didn't quote unquote live up to the standards that was of Clemson, but this guy was a highly recruited player, highly touted player. Clemson wasn't one to be able to snag him. So if he does anything based off of what he was supposed to be as a recruit, you have yourself a steal, because he's a 5th round pick. So I'm excited to see what he can do for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was basically about to say the same thing, like the exact same thing. Like he was a 5-star recruit out of high school. I didn't know that like he was battling injuries and that like he had COVID and all that stuff. And honestly, that makes me that gives me a little bit more optimism, because every year we do these mock drafts, or like, draft season rolls around, and before the board is finalized, like you always see Xavier Thomas's name up there, because it's like he's been at Clemson for 6 years. Like, when is he going to come out? I knew he was a highly touted recruit. I just didn't know what was going on with them. And honestly, these are my, like, we're going to get into, we're talking about him. We're going to get into Christian Jones and some other guys, but like, these are my favorite type of day 3 picks. Like, you're drafting guys who were crazy good athletes, like crazy good recruits coming out of high school, going to these, top universities. And maybe they might not pan out for whatever reason. In his case, it could be injuries. In some other cases, it could be coaching, whatever the case may be. Like, these are the type of guys you want to take a flyer on day 3. And I mentioned earlier in the pod, like, I feel like we don't really have that speed rusher, that speed rusher on the outside, because, quarterbacks and everybody, they're getting more athletic, more faster. If this guy can come in and, and be a part of the rotation, be part of the pass rotation, or maybe he comes in and they're like, we don't need Gardeck no more, and Gardeck is gone before training camp is over with. Like, that
Put him
would
on the
be
coaching
great.
staff or something. If people love him so much, put him on the coaching staff so he don't go nowhere. But you're not gonna put on the pads anymore, brother. Anymore. Good God.
Yeah, that would be great. So no, I really like this pick. I do.
Yeah. Dana chimed in. She said he was a top 3 recruit, like we mentioned, and look at the freshman season, followed by injury, followed by working his way back to improve a bit on freshman season. She mentioned that's his floor. So now you get a chance to look at him based on what he could possibly be. So I think this pick, again, they're really good at getting guys in the 5th, 6th, 7th round that have potential to do things, and they end up. And so far in 1 year they've done them. Can they emulate that again this year? And can another prospect, in the 5th and 6th and 7th round, end up being guys that are impactful for the football team. So that hopefully you don't want to
Yeah.
get that because you want the other players to step up, but and in case of injuries happen in the NFL all the time. You always need, depth and security and stuff like that. Something that Khan wasn't good at, which is why every time we falter, it's because of depth. You see Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon actually care about the depth of the football team and having player one be just as or players 40 whatever it is be just as equitable as player number one. So I'm excited to see what they can do in this draft. And Xavier Thomas has a clear cut advantage and a chance to have success on this football team. So I know, Shaw, you mentioned about the next pick, Christian Jones, tackle out of Texas. This was a huge steal for a lot of people. A lot of consensus board had him a lot higher than what we drafted him. So how you always feel about Christian Jones? Does he have a chance to be the certified swing tackle, and does he kick Kelvin Beachum off of the football team by week 1?
I hope so.
I don't know about by week 1, but that's
Okay.
your hope, right? Like that he's the replacement swing tackle.
Mhm.
But like I think he had the most tackle snaps actually, I think he had the most offensive line snaps out of any offensive lineman in the entire class because he
Mhm.
started 4 years at Texas. And I think 1 year didn't they make the playoffs 1 year? So he played probably like 14
Yeah,
games or whatever that
last year I
was.
think. I think last year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like he's had the most experience. Um, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. Like this again, day 3 pick. Like you're getting a guy who played a shit ton of football on a top 10 school in the country. Like,
Mhm.
and you can see his PFF grades. Like the dude's no slouch. And even at the
Mhm.
Senior Bowl, I remember him having somewhat of a really good Senior Bowl.
Mhm.
So you can't go wrong with that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm super confused why honestly, like I don't claim to be like a tackle specialist by any means. I'm just confused why he fell so much and why he was ranked 19th among all tackles in this.
Mhm.
If you guys have any insight on that.
The one thing I heard, I think on a broadcast or somebody mentioned it, was the penalties were a big thing for him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't show how many penalties he had on PFF here, but that was something that was told that I heard from is that why his stock kind of dropped was the penalties, and I think it was the age as well. I think he's one of the older players as well. So again, where you kind of see this, and this was an interesting point that I heard was that they're drafting older players. So what do you think that means for their timeline? Do you think they're ready to go right now, or do you think they're just going to keep waiting and try to stockpile picks? Like I
Right.
think the team thinks that they're ready to go
Honestly,
right now.
Honestly, I don't even look at it that way. I look at it like COVID.
Hmm.
COVID
Yeah.
like made a lot of these players like, if they're seniors, right, and they know they have an extra year and they know that their draft stock isn't like where they want to be, they just go back. So
Hmm.
I think that, this is gonna it'll work itself out, but I think COVID made like a lot of these players like this draft. I think this actually might probably be the last draft because what are we 3 years removed from that? So maybe one more
Yep.
draft class where we see a bunch of older players, but I think that's really the main thing personally.
Yep. I think I definitely think it's like a good mix of both. Just like overall, they fit where they
Mhm.
feel like their football team is, and then as well as like you mentioned, just the overall age of the draft classes have been older because of the years that have been taken away from players, so they get another year of college and stuff like that. So, but yeah, and as data mentions that lateral movement is another knock on Christian Jones. So, um, that'll be an interesting point because again, we expect our tackles to be very athletic and um, in the run blocking game. But he's a mauler, I think, at least in the run blocking game, as you can see, or where are we at right here, 75.2 PFF grade on the run blocking. So you can kind of see he has that ability to be that mauler on the offensive line. And maybe I don't know if they will play him at guard any bit because it doesn't look like he played any guard at all. But if he is able to play guard, then he'll possibly have success there as just a big mauler as well. So, but Christian Jones, good value pick as well. So Monty Ossenfort crushed the value picks as well. So I'm definitely like looking towards the rest of this draft class that we got. Tawan Palmer, 6th rounder. How you feeling about him, Shad? I know. Do you want to put your comparison up there with the UDFA that was signed as well when it comes to Tawan Palmer? So go ahead,
Yeah,
give a little
yeah.
share about him.
Yeah, So from what I don't really know too much about Palmer. Obviously, like the whole world was watching Colorado this year, and
Yeah.
I've seen Xavier Weaver have some monster games, and maybe that's Shador, maybe that's the system, maybe it's because they're not playing anybody. But I really like we gave first off, Xavier Weaver, wide receiver out of Colorado. I think he's like 6'2", maybe like 190. I think they gave him like 200K guaranteed as
Mm-hmm.
an undrafted free agent. So to me, that signals he has a pretty good chance of making the team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Palmer, like, he to me, he's just kind of a straight speed guy. I know
Mm-hmm.
he went to the Shrine Bowl, and like you mentioned, one of our coaches was at the Shrine Bowl, so he had an up close kind of look at him. But from all the things I heard about him, he was basically the easiest guy to guard at the Shrine Bowl. Yeah, so Dana says big, fast, not super quick or twitchy for Palmer. Yeah, like he was getting locked up in the practices at the Shrine Bowl, from what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really expecting too much out this pick. Um, it's at the end of the day, it's a 6th round pick, 7th round pick.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But I do like Xavier Weaver's chances of making the roster over Palmer.
Mhm. Jake,
Yep.
thoughts on those? I was gonna say thoughts on those two. Xavier Weaver. Everybody knows Xavier Weaver if you watch anything with Colorado. So
But
you've heard his name before. But Tuan Palmer, any thoughts on him as well?
yeah, I definitely like the Weaver signing. As Shad alluded to, it's definitely a good chance he's gonna get his fair chance with already getting like guaranteed money, even though it's only like a drop in the bucket for a team for an NFL team. But no,
Mm-hmm.
back to Palmer. Like he averaged over 18 yards a catch last year, which like yeah, I mean he might not have been like the twitchiest guy, but he's got some decent highlights. Obviously, they're highlights for a reason, but I don't know. I kind of get like a little bit of a tweezy feel out of this guy. 6'1", 210, like just another like decent sized body. Obviously not even close to as tall as Antoine Wesley was, but just a contested catch, or potential. And honestly though, like that wide receiver room is definitely getting a little bit crowded, after this draft and
Mm-hmm.
signing Weaver as well. So, but I think it's great. Like I love the fact that we're not depleted at some of these like big positions like
Mm-hmm.
DB receiver. So I really do feel like it's through internal competition. Like it's gonna shake out to the best guys are gonna line up and they're gonna play. And like obviously Marv's a lock, Dortch is a lock.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Michael Wilson you would think would be a lock. As long as he just can stay healthy. So yeah, it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be see how it shakes out between guys like Weaver and Palmer. But no, I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
optimistic about both picks. So or pick and signing. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. Mikey Shaw shares your sentiment that he kind of likes Weaver better than Palmer. So that'll be a good camp battle. See who can earn wide receiver. That would probably be 6 or 7. So or 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So we'll see who ends up winning that battle because I think. Well, I mean, who knows what's like? We have a lot of veterans that could have their spot taken by a young player, like another Zach Pascal. You mentioned Kelvin Beachum. Antonio Hamilton's already gone, so he can't have his spot taken. But just a couple guys, Dennis Gardeck, we mentioned him. So it's a couple guys at decent positions that could have their spot taken by rookies. So that'll definitely be interesting to see as that pans out. But I love the competition more so than anything. I think great competition breeds a great team. And if your number 80 player is good, it's just as competitive as your number 1 player. So that'll be fun to see for this team. So Jaden Davis, 226 pick. We won't talk about you too much. You'll probably be cut, respectfully, brother. But you were an important pick, Pat Tillman pick. So shout out Pat Tillman. They heard Monty say he didn't want to trade that pick. So you kind of see, ingratiating himself with a bit well in terms of valuing when it comes to the tradition of the Cardinals while making his own imprint on the new Cardinals. So shout out to Jaden Davis. You'll be a good camp body. Hopefully you have a chance to make the team. So good luck to you, brother. But I don't think you will. No disrespect. Hopefully you put a good film on there so you get a chance to go out there. So and they also got Miles Murphy in the undrafted free agents. So that's another player
I'm
that
not gonna
has the
lie.
opportunity to have. Go ahead.
No, I was about to say I'm not gonna lie. I heard that Miles Murphy is just not it.
Not it.
That from what I've seen, like people talk about him, I
Mhm.
just no.
Do you have a feeling on Miles Murphy,
Yeah,
Jake?
so
Sorry, my bad. Was just looking into Jaden Davis a little bit.
Mhm.
Miles Murphy, honestly don't know a ton about him. What did you hear about him, Shad?
just that he just wasn't good.
Yeah, that about
I,
sums.
I forget I forget I forget where I heard it from. I'm pretty sure it was like the NFL SE, the Stock Exchange, PFF,
Mhm.
Connor Rogers, Trevor Sikkema. I'm pretty sure they were
Mhm.
talking about him. Um Actually, no, it was A to Z Sports. I don't know if y'all familiar
Oh,
with
okay,
them
okay.
on YouTube. Yeah, James Foster. Yeah, he was just like, Miles Murphy was one of the guys that he had a grade on. And he just said that he
Not
was
it.
not good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
He didn't waste no
if
time talking on him.
if you if you have a chance to make the team, it'll be the first or second down run stopper, and then we're getting your ass off the field, good buddy. So
I will say Jaden Davis, shout out to him. He started I think he started all 5 years in college.
mhm.
Four at Oklahoma, one at Miami. So
You
hey,
guys,
maybe.
you guys know if you do know, but you probably both do, but you know how many picks he had throughout his career as a
How, mu-
DB?
how many? I
I
don't know.
just I just seen it. Go ahead.
Pretty crazy stat. I'd like to hear you guess it.
He had 0.
He had one.
Oh, okay. I wasn't too far
And
off. I
it
figured he
was
didn't
and
do
it was
shit.
his freshman year. And it was
uh,
his freshman year.
Yeah, I figured. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why you're a 7 rounder because you didn't produce at all. So that makes a lot of sense.
Crazy. Yeah, we'll see. I
So
hope you pick the team though, just to spite you for this hate he's getting from you.
you pick off Colin Murray in practice, then we talking. Then we talking. But until I'm not sold at all. I'm not sold at all. I can't lie to you.
The crowd.
Uh, yeah. So overall, they brought in. So that would be a total of. They also brought in a long snapper from the UDFA. So in total, they brought in 15 players. Huge draft class. I don't think anybody thought that we, take all the picks, but they made them all because I think they just want to envision the roster as something that they built, and we're removing ourselves from any guys
Yeah.
that could be kind players, and it's strictly Monty players. So going forward, so I'm excited. I'm excited for this draft class. I think this is the most exciting time that this team has felt inside. Like, and I think 2021 was a surprise. So during the middle of the season is when we we're super excited for this. I don't think anybody thought the season would have went like that as it did, at least to start out. So this I can easily say this is probably the first time that a team that we probably felt this excited about this football team since the acquisition of probably DeAndre Hopkins. I think that probably would say so. So you know, who knows what it can be? Who knows what it shape up as? We were going to go into expectations. We've gone on almost 2 hours, so kind of want to say that for possibly going forward because it will be plenty of draft off-season topics that we can get into. But do you guys have any other sentiments on this draft class and what they can mean for for this football team going forward?
I mean, I'll keep it short and sweet. Definitely super excited. Totally agree with what you said. A lot to be excited about here.
Yeah.
And for all of us Kyler stands, like, dude, I go to war all the time for this guy for years. I've been mercilessly defending this guy, and it's time to put up or shut up. So,
Yep.
got Marv, got some other weapons, and it's like MVP esque season or bust at this point. Like, time to go. So,
Mhm.
I'm super excited. I think he's gonna surpass expectations, and
Mhm.
my team's gonna be great. So,
Mhm. Go ahead,
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah, last thing I want to say, and it's gonna sound kind of pessimistic. I'm
Mhm.
optimistic for the team this year, the draft class and stuff like that. But, you know, ideally, like if 50% of these guys hit, and when I say hit, like make it to a second contract, that's a great draft class. And I just
Mhm.
want, all Cardinals fans to just, temper their expectations because like, we've seen draft classes in the past where we don't have anybody make it to a second contract.
Yes.
So if
Literally.
Monty just gets if he gets two guys, we know he's gonna get one.
Mhm.
So if he gets 2 to 3 guys to make it to a second contract, this was a good class. But hopefully, hopefully some of these guys can develop into some, like I say lifetime, but like second contract players for us.
Yeah, I'm just super.
Yeah.
I'm super hopeful. I think that's just all we can be right now is hopeful and like shot like you mentioned, Jake. Like it's no, I wouldn't say it's on Kyler's shoulders now, but he's been and lifted to the point where it's like we're not asking you to save us. We're asking you to be we're just asking you to be one of the players. We're asking you to be one of the top 3 players on a football team. We're not asking you to be Lord Savior Jesus Christ on every Sunday. Go out there and make a play. We're just simply asking you to be a top quarterback in the NFL. Use your resources that you've been provided with and help get this team back to a winning foundation. Get it, or actually not even back to, but just a consistent winning foundation that you go out there, you play like a Cardinal, or however that may sound like, and just we're the product that we see on the football field is what is needed when it comes to being successful in the NFL. So, a lot of hope. That's what the NFL draft brings every year is hope. So, and I think a lot of Cardinals fans should have that. As we mentioned earlier, as soon as you get a chance to, let's sell out Marvin Harrison Jr.'s jersey. Let's make sure that we sell it out faster than the Caitlin Clark jersey, faster than the Caleb Williams jerseys. We need that type of stuff. We need to show them that type of support. We need to show them all that stuff because that's what makes a team a team. That's what makes a fan base bring themselves together around the team and creates a true community. So it's definitely excited to see it all. So appreciate all the comments, Dana, Mikey, Classy Nasty. I remember you as well. Great show. Keep up the great work. Appreciate you guys coming through. This was a great draft,
Appreciate
great
y'all.
off season. We slummed it through multiple games this year, talking about losses, celebrating wins, giving off hope, giving off hype, and it kind of went all just for that one weekend. And I think it meant a lot to a lot of Cardinals fans to get through that weekend with us another successful draft. So hopefully that we got
All
that
for MHJ.
Literally, it's been 2 years for sucking for that guy, and
all
we got
for
him.
Mar.
We literally got him. Dana also mentioned we got younger, more athletic this year. We're not so young that they have to sit, and that's kind of the point I was mentioning with the age wise that they can just kind of go out there immediately and be foundational players. They will either put it together now or not. This is the turnaround season, and next year builds on this foundation. So I couldn't agree more with that comment. The true motto, as we mentioned, as we said it so far, is Detroit. And I think this year it's just kind of about getting respect on the football team or on the football field and knowing that the Cardinals, hopefully, in one game, I don't know what game it'll be this year, will be favored. That was ridiculous that we weren't favored in a single game last year. I think that was just that can't happen.
We'll be favored against the Panthers.
I hope so, but that game's in Germany, so you never know how that game might be in Germany, so you never know how those bookmakers might.
It might be, but it don't matter. We'll be favored
like
against the Panthers.
So, yeah. So, like I said, we appreciate you. Cool. Anybody coming through? Y'all had anything else before we head out?
Yes, one last thing.
Go
ahead. Yeah, you got something for Cardinals Huddle.
Yes, sir. I was gonna say, I think our win total is at 6.5, and the Houston Texans 6.5 last year. So just wanted to throw that out there, and for all you betting people out there, I'm
surprised that didn't change. I'm surprised that didn't change after the draft. I thought I would have at least gone up 1. I thought I would have gone up to 7.5.
For us, that's huge though, Corey. So we'll be able to attack that and keep the folks updated. But Cardinal, if you see this, would love to have you time and get your thoughts on the thing. I don't know, man. I'm just out here trying to spread the Cardinals good word, but that's all I'm gonna say on that. I hope you do come across this though. It's all love to the Bird Gang, and over and out.
Yeah, positivity from the Cardinalytics only. Until you mess with us, then we start coming after you. But positivity only, and that's what this team's going to preach as well. So appreciate y'all coming through, and we will catch y'all on the next one, man.
Sounds good. All right, pleasure, fellas.
All right, y'all.
Yes, sir.
Catch you.